Shalom, and welcome to our 29th annual Feast of Tabernacles. This is night 1. We are blessed in a special way, part 1.
The Feast of Tabernacles is the third of the three greatest festivals given to Israel by Yahweh. And of course, the moment we come to know and understand that the so-called black man of America is Israel, then your key to understanding the Bible has been opened. You must come to know and understand that Israel in the Bible is the so-called black man of America. And that's when keeping Yahweh's high holy days makes sense to us. We know for sure that it's written in the Old Testament that these festivals are to be forever. The Feast of Tabernacles marks the end of the year-long harvest season and celebrates the abundance of crops that Yahweh has given to us. And of course, in the hills of North America, we have run from the land. We had hundreds of thousands of acres, millions of acres. And now we've been reduced from some 30 to 50 million acres all the way to 300,000. That's it. And that means that Yahweh has taken from us the ability to feed ourselves because we turned our backs on Yahweh. When you lose the ability to feed yourself, you become a victim to whoever feeds you. And they're able to exploit you, take advantage of you, and charge you whatever they wish. And you will pay whatever you have to eat. And that's a horrible position to be put in when you are reduced to something less than a baby. A baby depends on its parents to feed it. And it can only cry and holler and complain until someone decides to feed it. And we, the so-called black people of North America, having turned our backs on the laws of Yahweh, turned our backs on our God, Yahweh, He took from us the ability to feed ourselves, so we're dependent on someone else to feed us. And it just so happens that they're not our true parents. People who grow the crops that you eat and have established their manufacturing and distribution systems, their wholesale systems, their retail systems, you're outside of all of that. And it doesn't occur to you to consider it. And even when someone tells you that you should feed yourself, you should go to the farm, you should establish your own economic system, you refuse to hear it. No matter who warns you, no matter who teaches or tells you as a people, you will not hear it. So that warning goes on the same ears as if you talk to a baby and say, baby, feed yourself. The kid will not feed himself. He doesn't know how. He's dependent. The moment he starts growing up and starts feeling a little bit of independence, the first thing he does is what? Tries to feed himself. That's a sign of the baby growing up, is when he tries to feed himself. And he doesn't want you to feed him when he's in that state of mind. He will rather throw it on the floor eat with his hands. He may be messy, but he wants to do it himself. And sometimes you just have to go ahead and put him in a high chair, put paper all around it, and let the kid go for it. He makes a mess when he first starts off. He can't find his mouth all the time. It's not always where he wants it to be. So we as a people have not grown from the baby stage, the baby carrying stage, to the point where we're sitting up and trying to walk, and we want to sit in a high chair, and we want to take the spoon, and we want to imitate the adult and feed ourselves. We as a people are not in that state of mind. Terrible state to be in. So here we are faced with Feast of Tabernacles, which you haven't heard about anyway until you come in contact with me. A law, a high holy day that belongs to you as a so-called black man. Your high holy day, you're supposed to be celebrating the abundance of your crops. And you're so new to me as my babies. All of you are my babies. And I still have to hold you, change you, pet you, do all the things for you, feed you, give you bottles, prepare for you, because you're not yet ready to feed yourself. Something takes place inside the baby's head when he decides he wants to try to do it himself. Something has to take place in my people's heads before they ever dream of feeding themselves. It's pretty rough when you get a raise on your job and they raise your food bill twice as much as it was last year. You don't like it, but you don't want to grow it, do you? You've been taught to hate growing it, haven't you? And the source of all wealth comes from the land. That's what Feast of Tabernacles teaches me to teach you. The source of all wealth comes from the earth. And the first step in controlling your own destiny as a people is to control your own land. And we don't have to move to another country. We don't have to move to another location. We don't have to have a state given to us. We can just take what we want where we are. When you have that kind of mind, the baby just begins to taste that spoon. He doesn't care whether he's in Mississippi, Arkansas, Alabama, Oklahoma, Tennessee, California, or Florida. Give me the spoon. He'd have no question about what he wants. Food where he is. And he wants to do it himself. So Feast of Tabernacles immediately brings to our mind that we are to be celebrating an abundant crop as a people, and yet we're not. So that means we have to celebrate the Feast of Tabernacles from another perspective at this time. Wouldn't it be glorious if we owned a few thousand acres of orchards, apple trees, thousands of acres of orange trees, thousands of acres of banana trees, and all the fruits you can think of, the pears and the avocados and the pecans. We've had those things in our yards. Our grandparents had those things in our yard. In fact, that's how we survived, is our grandparents had pigs and cows and goats and a couple of sheep and 200 or 300 chickens. Grew a garden every year. Anybody remember those days? Remember. And all that you could not eat during the season, what happened to it? Canned it. When did you eat it? In the winter. How much money did your grandparents have to spend at the grocery store growing the garden? None. How much do you have to spend at the grocery store now that you... And you wonder why you're suffering. You wonder why you're poor. You wonder why you don't have enough. It's because you have abandoned your God, who teaches you to plant in the earth and let him multiply it for you, sometimes 100-fold. That means you get a watermelon that has 400 seeds in it, and you plant one seed, and it gives you a vine with 20 watermelons on it. Can you imagine if you get 20 in the place of one? What would happen when you plant 400 out of just one watermelon? And what if you planted 10% of your crop next year? You need to buy some more land just to plant your seed. And the wealth from the watermelons that you sold would enable you to buy more land, which would only make you poorer, richer. But you don't like that idea, because buying a farm means wait. So the Feast of Tabernacles is not simply a time whereby we gather together in a building and we sing, we dance, we shout praises and glory to Yahweh's name, but it is also a remembering session. Aside from it being a unified session, it's a session where we remember and we give thanks. But what about this abundant crop? Well, as I said a moment ago, something is going to have to take place in the mind of your baby head before we can think about going back to the land and feeding ourselves physically. We're first going to have to learn how to feed ourselves spiritually. We're going to have to first let a spiritual renewing take place in our mind. We're going to have to be spiritually renewed in the spirit of our mind. Where? Ephesians 4:23. Ephesians 4:23. And let's start at verse 22. Ephesians chapter 4, verse 22. Now, let us read.
And you put off concerning the former conversation the old man, which is corrupt, according to the deceitful lust.
Read.
And be renewed in the spirit of your mind.
Read.
And that ye put on the new man, which after Yahweh is created in righteousness and true holiness.
Read.
Wherefore, putting away lying, teach every man truth with his neighbor, for we are members one of another.
Read.
Be ye angry and sin not. Let not the sun go down upon your wrath.
Read.
Neither give place to the devil.
Read.
Let him that stole steal no more, but rather let him labor, working with his hands, the thing which is good, that he may have to give to him that needeth.
Read.
Let no corrupt communication proceed out of your mouth, but that which is good to the use of edifying, that it may minister grace unto the hearer.
Read.
And grieve not the Holy Spirit of Yahweh, whereby ye are sealed unto the day of redemption.
Read.
Let all bitterness and wrath and anger and clamor and evil speaking be put away from you with all malice.
Read.
And be kind one to another, tender-hearted, forgiving one another, even as Yahweh, for Yahweh's and Yahweh's sake, has forgiven you.
That's the brotherhood. How many admit this is the way to live? The only way to live with each other. Now in verse 30 we see that as a people we are grieving the Spirit of Yahweh. We're grieving God, the Creator. We should not do that. But we're going to continue to do it until a certain day. What? The day of your redemption. It grieves Yahweh that you don't obey His will and keep His law. He also punishes you by you not remembering how to feed yourself. All that you're learning has been sealed until the day of your redemption. But in verse 25, we're told to put on a new man. Verse 23, excuse me, that's 24. Verse 23, we're told to be renewed in the spirit of your mind. That's where it used to be renewed. In the spirit of your mind. Everybody hear me all right? It's okay? I'll move it a little bit. Pinch up. You don't mind if I look a little strange for a few minutes, do you? Be renewed means what? Change. Time for a change. It's time for a change. It's time for your redemption. That means you've got to come back to keeping these laws. Not keeping these laws has caused you to become corrupt. Here we are celebrating Feast of Tabernacles. While you're here, every one of you must go in that green booth in the back, spend a few minutes in honest reverence, and think about, we used to have to live like that for a period of time after we were delivered from Egypt. And remember that when you step inside. And this period, we're supposed to sleep in those type of booths for 8 days, 8 nights, forever. Once out of the year, Feast of Tabernacles. Our feasts are ordained by Yahweh. That means that when we begin to keep them, we're blessed. We're blessed in a special way. And it means that whatever I touch, and you who follow me, whatever we touch, just turns to gold. It turns to prosperity. And you look out on that lot tonight, and it looks real prosperous to me. Real powerful, real prosperous. I want every one of you to have that. That makes me a patriot, doesn't it? I'm patriotic. America's luxury car of the year. I want every one of my people to have one. All who follow me, you must have one. And you should have a new one every year. That's what I want for you. Along with the mansion. That's what you deserve, the best. Anybody want it? It's easy to have, nothing difficult. Just return to your Father. Just return to your God, Yahweh, and see if I don't open the windows of heaven and pour you out blessings you don't have room to receive. But you have to be willing to wait. Anything that's ordained by Yahweh, He rewards you for obeying His will. While your enemy is losing his businesses, his plants are shutting down, people are being unemployed, you'll find yourself going up. The nation of Yahweh is just going straight up. You must be renewed in the spirit of your mind. An abundant crop. Look how rich you would be if you took the seeds from an apple and planted those 12 seeds instead of throwing the core away. At least next year you wouldn't have to buy an apple. At least the year that it grows up and bears fruit. It may take a couple of years, 3 years or so to mature, to bear fruit. But the moment it starts to bear fruit, you can cease having to buy apples. Be able to sell a few, huh? Our feasts are ordained by Yahweh and are commemorated per solar time. I don't go by the time of man. I make reference to it because we live in his system temporarily. until I change it. I'm definitely going to change it. You see the way I dress? Have I changed? You see some around here in white? Have they changed? I'm changing the whole planet. Don't worry about it. Every square inch of the planet. I'm not going to get into that right now. I started to really tell you something. But I'm just letting you know I'm changing the whole earth. From wickedness to righteousness. From a lack of knowledge of Yahweh to where the earth is full of the knowledge of Yahweh. That's what I'm here to do. I shall accomplish it. Every knee is going to bow to Yahweh. And if you live on my earth, you're going to bow to my Father Yahweh. The only way you're going to live on this earth is your knee bow to Yahweh. And if you think you got arthritis, you better get somebody to crack it or to give you some cortisone shots or something so you can get on down. And your knees going to have to bow. And every tongue shall confess Yahweh is truly God. Yahweh is truly the only sovereign one. Oh yeah. Feast of Tabernacle, solar time. I live and go by and count and reckon according to solar time. That's the original time. Man changed the law. Daniel 7:25. Your oppressor who gave you his names like Johnson and Smith, Culpeper and Underwood, Snailgrass, Pepper and Greenleaf, that fella who changed your name also changed the calendar of God. And the thought entered his head to do what? Change time. That's a calendar. Change time is to change the calendar. And what's the danger in changing the calendar? The time. It means you won't know what time it is. This means that your enemy, the enemy of God, is concerned about time for some reason. There's something about time that he wants to hide from the masses of the earth. Wonder what that is. I wonder what it is about time that he wants to hide. Has to be something. It has to be mighty important that he has the nerve and the gall, the immediate gall, to come and speak great words against the Most High. The man who had this thought is not the Most High. That means this man had to, in order to change the time, he had to get rid of the original timekeepers. Oh, you hadn't thought about that. Once he got rid of the original timekeepers, then it became easy to hide something about time that has to do with him. There's something about time that has to do with him. And it's so important that he said, I got to change this. And the only way I can change this is to speak great words with nerve against the Most High. So now you have to ask, well, then who were the timekeepers? The timekeepers are those who not only believe in the Most High, but obey and keep his law, keep his time. Because as long as the children of God, the children of Yahweh, keep his time, then this fella who felt he needed to change it and hide it wouldn't be able to do it. He would never be able to get away with whatever it is he wanted to hide and do. I'm taking my time with this. I could just hit it, but I want you to reflect on this. I declare to you tonight that you, the so-called black men of America, are the children of Yahweh. Therefore, you are the original timekeepers, but the man had to get rid of you first. And he got rid of you. He killed you. You're walking around dead to the knowledge of what time it is. The true time. The real time. And who time concerns. And once you come into the knowledge of the real time, the real calendar, and into the knowledge of the one who spoke these great words against the Most High Yahweh, and you come into the knowledge of why he spoke these words, great words against the Most High Yahweh, then you're going to get in step with time and move on time and get rid of everybody that's not right in time, that has something wrong about time. See, when you understand time, then you'll understand that mystery in Ecclesiastes. There's a time and a season. For how much? That means that this fella who had the nerve to speak great words against the Most High, he's got a time and a season. But he can extend his time and extend his season of rulership as long as the original timekeeper are dead to the knowledge of time, and that they are the timekeeper. So all they have to do is come back into the knowledge of their own history and culture and who they are in relationship to the Most High. And then you can bring time back on course. You can go get the clock. Say, no, time is a little wrong here. I'm going to set this boy like it is. Let's see. Yeah. The wicked man. How many of you understand that only a wicked man would speak great words against God? So then you understand who this is talking about in here? So the wicked man is worried about time. What does it mean? It means that time has something to do with his rule. How many of you admit the wicked people rule the world? Wicked people are ruling. You admit that. Well, the world doesn't belong to the wicked. Yahweh the Creator is righteous. Therefore his children are by nature righteous. So the wicked man had to kill off the righteous children from the knowledge of solar time and give them his time. So it all goes back to the garden. All goes back to Genesis. All of what I'm telling you goes back to Genesis. Cain wanted to live forever after being kicked out of heaven. So he knew the only way that he could continue to live, or he figured, was to snake into the garden. Mix his seed with Eve, knowing Eve was going to go mix up with Adam. And he figured he could live, at least physically, through. having children with Eve. And he did. He had a son by Eve. Lucifer had a son by Eve. His name was Cain. It was not Adam's son. Eve told you she got her a man from God. She didn't say what kind of God, because it's God's many. She didn't say this is the son of Adam, son of me and Adam. She didn't say that. You read your Bible. I already read it. You go read yours. I'm calling your attention to this one. So Eve never said, this is Adam and my son. She said, I got me a man-child from God. Now, my Bible says it's God's many. 1 Corinthians 8, 5, and 6. So let's get that out the way and we come back to this. 1 Corinthians 8, 5, and 6. All right. Read.
For though there be that are called gods, whether in heaven or in earth, as there be gods many and lords many, but to us there is but one God.
Thank you. Now you can go back to Daniel 7. There are many gods, many of them. So when Eve went to hollering in the garden about she got her a man-child from God, see, now you got to put the story together and understand what God, which one? Lucifer, that's who. The God of evil, the God of darkness, the God of lies, the God of greed and malice and hatred, the God of division, the God of murder, the God of destruction. That's who Lucifer is. Everything you see wicked going on, there are people that just love it. They love wicked. It turns them on. That's their turn on. So when Eve took her corruption on into Adam, we know the story about they got kicked out, yes. But Yahweh said, even after Cain came on the scene, he proved he was just like his father and killed Abel, who was a righteous man. And Yahweh said to Cain, though you've done this heinous crime, yet I'm going to give you a chance to rule, Cain. And if you do well, I'll let you rule over the earth and my creation forever. And I'm going to give you ample time to prove your rulership. That's enough to make Cain be concerned about time. He was given rulership by Yahweh. It's not difficult to get rid of him. Not when you're conscious. Not when you're Yahweh conscious. It's not difficult to get rid of the wicked on the earth. I have the strength to drive them off the planet. I'm going to do it anyway. Tell them to their face. I'm going to chase every last one of the devils off this planet. I'm going to leave him nowhere. That means the earth is going to be clean in time. Somewhere in time, it's going to be clean. In the meantime, he bluffed the people of the world with atomic bombs, cobalt bombs, hydrogen bombs, big war machines, stealth aircraft, all this stuff. He's just bluffing the world out. He's got enough atomic weapons to kill every man, woman, and child 500 times. He got 500 bombs for each one of you. So you say, well, who can make war with the beast? Here is the wicked man. Yahweh said, Cain, if you do well, I'll let you rule forever, huh? Let's look at Genesis 4:7. I'm not making this up. We can't worship the Feast of Tabernacles unless we know these things. Genesis 4, 6, and 7. Read.
And the Lord Yahweh said unto Cain, why art thou wroth? And why is thy countenance fallen? If thou doest well, shalt thou not be accepted it, and if thou doest not well, sin lieth at the door, and unto thee shall be his desire, and thou shalt rule over him.
This is because Cain was jealous of the righteous brother Abel. You'll be able to rule over him and rule over everything if you just do well. What did Cain do? He killed Abel. And Yahweh gave Cain and all his descendants 6,000 years to rule from that point. Though he had murdered, though his father had caused war in heaven and had subdued and tricked a third of the angels who were living in heaven to join him in his revolution against the Most High, Yahweh. 6,000 years he was given to rule. Now, you get the picture? Now do you understand why the wicked man had to change the time? The book says over here in Daniel 7 that he also changed the laws. Whose laws? Yeah, obviously it wasn't his law, it was Yahweh's law. So that took away from you Feast of Tabernacles, Feast of Passover, Feast of Memorial Blowing of Trumpets, Day of Atonement, whatever the laws. Keep the Sabbath holy, keep the seventh day holy, not Friday. The seventh day holy. All that dealt with the laws, thou shalt not kill, all 365 laws or more. He just changed all of that. He changed the seventh day to a Sunday. You can go right back in history and see when he did it. The Catholic Pope did it. When? All right. 321 AD. It's right in your book. But being ignorant and raised up thinking January is the new year, you ought to know better. What can grow in January with ice on the ground? Couldn't possibly be new. New means you've gone through the death stage and life is regenerated. That's spring. But see, you don't know how to think like that because you've been blinded by the wicked man who changed the times and the law. That's wicked yellow people, wicked brown people, wicked red people, and wicked black people. In fact, the most wicked folk I ever saw on earth are black. He's the most wicked fella ever lived. He knows everything, won't change from nothing. He just tear out everything. He's a horrible fella. Being given 6,000 years to rule, it means whoever is to be the ruler, when his time is up, can never take his place of rulership as long as he doesn't know what time it is and the time giver and his place as the timekeeper. A timekeeper is a lawkeeper. So he hid it. He gave you a new kind of calendar, several kinds of calendars. He gave you a calendar that's so dumb, only the most stupid people on earth could follow it. The dumbest time in the universe is 1990. How do you get to 1990? From zero. You holler, Christ. Then they tell you this is AD. 1990 years after the death of a man. So then they also say what? BC. Right? So you go 0 to infinity. You be way out there somewhere and you count down to 0. Isn't that dumb? Isn't that incongruent to logic? You're gonna you start way out there somewhere and count down to 0? And then this baby is born and you start from 0 and get up to 1990. How could you fall for that? Had to be dead to go for that one? If you go for that, you go for anything. You'll go for Santa Claus if you go for that. If you believe that, you'll go for the tooth fairy. Put your tooth under a pillow or something. You'll do it. You'll believe in Cinderella. The earth cannot come to peace when the time giver is not recognized. The author of time has to be recognized for peace to come to the earth. Because the earth is following the wrong time. If you plant your crop at the wrong time, you don't get the results you want. And you are in the wrong time. Because the author of time is not recognized by the timekeeper. The timekeepers don't know who they are, so they sure don't know what time it is. And the people that go from way out there down to zero, or from 0 to 1990, I said they'll go for anything. So you really don't know, as a people, nothing about how you got the calendar you use now. You don't know how many calendars have already been. Oh, it may be 3 or 4 of you who follow what I teach, have done the research and come up and discovered what's real. In the meantime, how can you be blessed ignoring the author of time? Following after the enemy of the author of time. Here in the Bible, you've had it in your hands all your life, and you didn't know times have been changed from God's time to the wicked man's time. Here it is.
Give glory, Israel, for our Lord and Savior Yahweh ben Yahweh is here. Hosanna, Hosanna, blessed be the King, Yahweh ben Yahweh.
This concludes Night 1 of We Are Blessed in a Special Way, Part 1.